Top Media is back. Yes, we're back after a long break and we'll be bringing you the best top 5, 10, 15s and more on YouTube. For a second I thought you forgot about us. Well, you're not getting rid of me that easily. Anyways, thanks for all the subscribers who decided to stick around and enjoy. Oh, and don't forget to support us on Patreon if you like, which we finally got around to launching. A link is in the description. Check it out, it would be very much appreciated.
12-year-old Jasmine Richardson holds the record of being the youngest person ever convicted of multiple murders in Canada. When police found Richardson's parents and her 8-year-old brother brutally murdered at their Alberta home in 2006, they assumed her absence indicated that she too was a victim of this terrible crime. It was only when she was located the next day, 80 miles away, and with her 23-year-old boyfriend, that the truth emerged. Richardson's parents had naturally disapproved of the relationship their preteen daughter had with a grown man, and often punished her for it. In retaliation, the pair murdered them and her little brother. Richardson was sentenced to 10 years in prison, the maximum for a child under 14. On August 2, 1993, 13-year-old Eric Smith was riding his bike to summer camp when he spotted 4-year-old Derek Robbie walking alone along the road. He lured the young boy into some nearby woods, where he strangled him, dropped a large rock on his head, and sexually assaulted his body. Smith later claimed this crime was an anger-fueled response to the bullying he himself suffered from other children at his high school, as well as from his father and sister. He is still incarcerated today, having been refused parole. It was the total lack of motive that makes Brenda Ann Spencer's murder so chilling. On Monday, 29th January 1979, the 16-year-old started shooting at children who were waiting for Cleveland Elementary School's gates to open. She wounded 8 pupils, and as the school's principal attempted to get them to safety, Spencer fatally shot him. She also shot and killed a custodian who was trying to aid the wounded. She later claimed she committed these acts simply because she didn't like Mondays. On December 1st, 1997, Michael Carneal concealed a shotgun, rifle, and pistol in a blanket and took them to his school. He deceived his family into believing it was part of an art project he was working on. Once he arrived at Heath High School in Kentucky, Carneal inserted some earplugs and opened fire on a youth prayer group. He killed 3 girls and wounded 5 more. When he was finished, Carneal dropped the gun he had used and said, "Kill me, please. I can't believe I did that." Southwood Middle School in Florida made headlines for all the wrong reasons in 2004. When 14-year-old Michael Hernandez lured his best friend, Jaime Go, into a bathroom stall and murdered him. Hernandez had told Go to meet him in the stall as he had something to show him. Once both students were alone, Hernandez stabbed his classmate 42 times and cut his throat. Police later found a hit list of targets that Hernandez had wrote, which included Go, another pupil at the school, and even his own sister. In 1964, when he was just 15 years old, Edmund Kemper shot his grandmother in the head. He then fatally shot his grandfather in the driveway, who was returning home from grocery store shopping at the time. He claimed he did it to see what it would feel like to kill grandma, and killed his grandfather as he knew he would be angry at him for what he had done. Kemper served less than 5 years in prison for his crimes. When he was released, he had grown to 6'9" and weighed over 300 pounds. This real-life Michael Myers went on to murder 8 women as an adult, including his own mother. When 8-year-old Maddie Clifton disappeared from her Jacksonville home in 1998, 400 locals helped search for the girl, including her 14-year-old neighbor, Joshua Phillips. Unknown to those volunteers, it was Phillips himself who was responsible for Maddie's disappearance. Earlier in the week, he had strangled the little girl with a phone cord for 15 minutes, hit her with a baseball bat, and stabbed her 11 times. He then hid her body under his waterbed, where it was found by his mother after she noticed it leaking. He was charged with first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. It was only one day before Mary Bell's 11th birthday when she strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown to death. The murder took place in Newcastle, England, in May of 1968, and barely 2 months later, Bell killed another child. On this occasion, she had a friend help her, but the method was still the same, this time strangling 3-year-old Brian Howe. Afterwards, Mary returned to the body to carve an M in the little boy's stomach with a razor blade. She also used a pair of scissors to cut off some of his hair, scratch his legs, and mutilate his genitals. Once apprehended, the friend who had participated in the second murder was acquitted, while Bell was convicted of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. She served just 12 years in prison for her crimes. On the 12th February 1993, 10-year-olds John Venables and Robert Thompson had spent all day shoplifting from the New Strand shopping centre in Bootle, England. They were skipping school, as they so often did, and had planned to abduct a child, lead them to a busy local road, and push them into traffic. Eventually, they noticed 2-year-old James Bulger, and once his mother was distracted, the pair took the toddler by the hand and left with him. What followed became one of the most notorious crimes in British history. Instead of sticking with their original plan, the boys took Bulger on a 2.5-mile walk to a disused railway station, during which time they constantly beat him. Once at their destination, Venables and Thompson tortured Bulger in sickening ways. Police even suspect a sexual element may have been involved, before finally killing him by fracturing his skull with a 22-pound iron bar. Due to their ages, both boys were sentenced to only 8 years and given lifelong licenses upon their release. In 2010, one of the boys, John Venables, returned to prison on child pornography charges. In 1874, 14-year-old Jesse Pomeroy was labeled as the Boston Boy Fiend on account of his horrific killings and the milky white film that covered his right eye, completely covering his pupil. Before he progressed to murder, Pomeroy had been sentenced to 6 years in a children's reform school for the sexual torture of 7 boys. Although, thanks to his mother's machinations, he was released after only a few months. 2 years later, 10-year-old Katie Curran went into the Pomeroy family store and was never seen again. Because of his history, Jesse was interviewed about the missing girl, but nothing came of it. 5 weeks after this incident, 4-year-old Horace Millen was found in a pit on the beaches of South Boston. Naked, mutilated, covered in stab wounds, and almost decapitated. Pomeroy was once again under suspicion for the child's murder. When questioned if he had done it, the Boston Boy Fiend replied, "I suppose I did." After also confessing to Katie Curran's murder, her mutilated body was later found in his mother's cellar. For his monstrous crimes, Jesse Pomeroy was sentenced to hang, but due to his age and the belief that he was mentally ill, public outcry saw this changed to 40 years solitary confinement.
Thanks for watching another Top Media video. Don't forget to hit that very important bell icon, the subscribe button, and to support us on Patreon. As they say, pennies make pounds, and your support would go a very long way for our channel.